Now to Ravi Singh, Chief Executive of Khalsaaid. He and his team have been providing hot meals and blankets in the earthquake-hit areas in Turkey. And what, Ravi, is the main need on the ground as far as you can see it?
Well, hi. We landed here. Our team's been here for the last 3 days, but I landed yesterday evening and came to the main town, Urfa, about 6 p.m. Went straight to the warehouse of distribution. It was absolutely freezing. One thing that hit us was so cold. And as soon as we've got there, our truck from Iraq arrived from our Khalsaaid headquarters in Iraq, 3,500 blankets. And you wouldn't believe the need for the blankets. It was freezing cold. There was families living in tents, 7 or 8 families still are. And there are like a lot of kids in there. There's people sleeping in back of trucks, back of cars. You can imagine -2, -1 degree temperatures, the wind. And I think rightly so, like I think some of the comments we made about the weather, they're absolutely true. It's very, very tough out here. And then we decided to drive around town about 10, 11 o'clock at night. There were people sitting in circles, people sleeping outside their shops, their homes with small fires, not much shelter because they're afraid to sleep inside. And when you're actually here, it's a different story. And people will drag you to see some of the stuff. We were taken to a particular government building where there was a second floor full of people. We were told if you go and see upstairs for yourself, you'll see the situation. As we got upstairs, I couldn't believe it. Opened the door. There's about 700, 800 people, women, men, children, elderly folks, people with special needs, all struggling. And they're all asking for one thing. We need blankets. We need something to keep warm. We are getting some meals, but we need that. So our team, Khalsaaid team, yesterday provided about 3,000 meals, hot meals today. They're cooking that. We're in a different town. We're Gaziantep at the moment, and they're in Urfa, and they're cooking another massive meal distribution for another 2,000-3,000 people today. We're stepping there on several locations across the affected areas, but the situation is terrible. It needs a lot of help from international community, and I'm glad that DEC is making the appeal because the help we can give here, I don't think it'll ever be enough, but we'll definitely change lives with what we can. So let's all work together for this disaster. People are really, really in a very difficult place. If the temperature is a bit higher, it'd be a different story, especially seeing kids, seeing children all huddled up in a corner of a tent. When you go in, it's just shocking. It's heartbreaking. And then the father talks to us. He says, look, I got 7 families here. We take turns. Most of the men stay outside. Women stay in the tent because they're small. We need nappies. We need milk for the babe, for the kids. We need warm blankets. Luckily, we were driving around with blankets, so we gave the blankets. It's keeping warm is need of the hour at the moment in many places. So we're now setting up a second point of help just outside, another 45 minutes, an hour's drive from Gaziantep, which is the most affected areas. So Khalsaaid will be setting up 2 to 3 points of hot meals and distributing blankets. We've ordered another 3,500 to 4,000 blankets to be arriving in a warehouse here in Urfa. So yes, much help is needed. It is very tragic, and I think the more we can do, the better. And again, I'm very grateful for the British public and the general public that always, no matter what we're facing a lot of cost of living crisis, everything, and they still give. And this is humanity, and I think we can really do more here.
You're talking about your warehouses. Just how straightforward is it for you to get these supplies in? Do you already have supplies on the ground? Were they already there because of the situation in Syria?
Yeah, I mean, we work in northern Iraq in the Kurdish areas. We got a very good team there. So a warehouse there had blankets of 3,500 blankets ready to go. And our team came overland with another few, I think, dozen or so organizations from Iraq in a convoy. About 3 days ago, set up camp, worked with the local partners there that we've been in touch with from the UK office in Slough. So they walked into this warehouse. They got the blankets straight away. So it's not easy. So we have to work with big organizations, say from Iraq, to bring stuff in. We got to work with organizations that are working at government level. And fortunately for us, we've been in the region for the last 7, 8 years. So we are very good friends in big organizations. So we're working together to make sure aid gets here. So it's not a one man or one organization effort. It's a multi-organization effort. And we're very fortunate to work with that other big organization, the BCF, They're doing a fantastic job here to deliver to the people. So hence why we can place an order for another 3,500, 4,000 blankets. And also remember, when we're doing hot meals, setting up a kitchen in such an area isn't easy either. So we brought a lot of dry food over from Iraq as well with the convoy. We also brought the blankets over. Then we also had to purchase massive kitchen utensils to cook in and to appoint the right team and restaurants to make sure, commission them to cook the meals in hygienic situation and areas. So we don't drop our hygiene standards. So it's tough. It can be done, but you've got to work together with other organizations and individuals.
Mm. And listening to the DEC appeal, we heard from Islamic Relief, and Gaziantep, who were talking about adrenaline starting to wear off for the people who've been trying to rescue people and their injuries becoming more apparent. And also Action Aid from North Syria talking specifically about their concerns for women and girls. Is this something that at Khalsaaid is also on your mind, the security situation there as people do become increasingly desperate?
People are desperate. Yesterday, our distribution of blankets got out of hand. We expect that people are desperate. They started mobbing. Fortunately, we are working with a couple of people here. We all came out. We all started talking to the people. Said, please, look, we come from very far away. So did our team from Iraq. We're here to help you. Stay calm. Nobody will go hungry. Nobody will go without a blanket. Distribution to the public, when you do aid work, is very, very dangerous and can be dangerous. Yes, Islamic Relief is right. North Syria, on the Syrian side, there's been a massive earthquake as well. So we are working with the same organization to purchase relief items in Iraq, blankets and food and everything, to send from Iraq directly with them to that part of Syria where we can help. So people are talking about Turkey, rightly so. There's also massive damage in Syria, where Khalsaaid is also dispatching truckloads of aid in the next 3 to 4 days. But in any disaster, two things that we're afraid that happens. One, you said the desperation. The next is the fatigue from the public. And I hope the public doesn't forget. Sometimes we have huge disasters. Within a couple of weeks, the media switches off and the public doesn't see what's going on. And everybody goes back to their normal lives, except those who are stuck in disasters. So, yes, it is a concern. And we see it. We realize it. And we also understand, we have to understand, people are doing it because they want to feed their families, their babies, their kids, their elderly mothers and fathers. So, it's difficult. I'm sure if people see that we come to help, we explain it with a lot of passion, and it does affect them. But I'm not in that place. It's very hard to put yourself in a place where a person needs everything. To them, that truck of blankets, that food parcel could be the last parcel in that area by the organization. So they want to make sure they get there for their families, for their kids, for their babies. So what desperation they feel, I will never know. I hope we will never be in their place. But we don't blame those people for being desperate, for being, aggressive. So we've got to understand that this is, for them, could be the last hope of a meal or a blanket. It's very difficult. It's emotionally difficult, psychologically difficult. And when you run out of stuff, it breaks your heart because people are still waiting. Then we have to go back, order stuff, bring it in. Supply lines could be delayed. This sort of work isn't for anybody who does then emotionally get upset and walks away. You have to be a little bit, stubborn, dig your feet and say, I know what I'm here for. I'm here for these people. Whatever they say to me, whatever they call me, whatever they want to do to me out of anger is fine because they are desperate. You got to always keep that in mind. Give them respect, give them the dignity that they think that nobody's caring about.
And that was something that Action Aid talked about as well in the DEC appeal about the psychiatric and psychological trauma, and something that I saw with your guys down on the Polish border at the beginning of the war with Ukraine, where Khalsaaid also were, that often in the camps that were setting up, it would be days and days since anything bad had happened to these people, but that the enormity would just suddenly occur to them and they would break down and would be hysterical. And it is really hard for the aid workers in those situations.
I mean, our staff member, who's yesterday distributing a young lady called Susan Fahmy from Iraq, she's doing fantastic work. She saw desperation. She's trying to talk to those people. At the end of the night, then she broke down because that's the side the public doesn't see, that you're trying to help. It's the emotions. It's not black and white. You donate, things get really, hunky-dory overnight. The people in the front, the aid workers, are taking a lot of stress as well. They're taking it more in the emotional side. So from both sides, the emotions are really high. So it does. I'm glad you're talking about it. There are so many. We worked with the Yazidi community in Iraq and Ukraine, like you said. Sometimes somebody comes across very, very, looks like it's okay, they're fine, but they're not. And here we see the same thing. Yesterday also, there's, people who are amazing. I mean, I'm in Turkey, the Turkish people just so much resilience. So one guy in the middle of about 11:30 middle of the night sort of thing, in a freezing weather, he's got a fire going, he's making soup, and he's got some bread. He needed more bread. We had some bread. We gave it to him. He gave me soup. I said, look, I am hungry, actually. I haven't eaten since I've flown in. He gave me soup. I had soup. I said, why are you doing this? He said, well, I have the ability to offer something I have. And he had about a circle of about 10, 15 people around the fire who was having his soup. And then they took the bread from us. I said, well, you gave me soup today. Tell me what you want to do. He goes, I want to do more. I said, okay, we guarantee you another month or 2 months supply lines, food-wise. You keep cooking. He said, promise. He won't take money from me. He won't take money from our staff. Yeah, but he won't take anything. But then when we said, make me a deal, I'll give you the food from Khalsaaid and you carry on serving, he was over the moon. People are brilliant. There's always hope. I think one thing we have to remember, hope is the one thing these people have. And you might be, as an aid worker, a beacon of hope for them, symbol of hope. And that's why they get desperate. That's why they want to reach out. They're trying to reach out because you may not return. It may be a situation where, like I said, it depends. You might be the last aid worker in the area. That's how they treat you. But there's a lot of love, a lot of respect for our staff. Not everybody's that. We haven't reached that at the moment where people are desperate or people are aggressive, because we understand from last night's experience, there was a bit of desperation, but we dealt with it. It's never easy. This is what you're, volunteered for. So, we are in a way blessed that we haven't really, apart from last night's episode, faced anything in the last few years either, because we always try to keep a distance from that, our own selves. That don't take this that you're here for a business, you're here for people. These are human beings. You're a humanitarian. And then when we deal with the local public and we befriend local public, they become your friends. We stay with the people. We stay in a locality. We eat with the people. If there's serving going on, I might be the CEO, whatever. My best thing I really enjoy is when I eat with the people, the food we're serving. It could be Iraq, could be Ukraine. And that makes a difference to people. They see that, well, these guys are like us. They want to be helping us. They respect us. They're eating with us. And that's the, I think, special gift aid workers have. So my respect to every single aid worker. It doesn't matter whichever organization from, because this sort of work is extremely tough. And they have my highest respect. And because it's not easy being in the front line. I know what it's like for 24 years I've been doing it. It's never easy.
Well, no, indeed. And it's great that you can talk to us, Ravi Singh, and also that you can give us a little bit of hope, because these are bleak images and it is an incredibly distressing story. So
yes.
any hope that I think any of us can grab from it is really welcome. Ravi Singh, CEO of Khalsaaid, best of luck to you out there.
Thank you very much. Thank you.